Hey all, happy Sunday to you. Earlier today I was scrolling through social media and saw a comment from a dear friend of mine who said he hadn't seen a video from me in a while. I wasn't sure what I would be posting about. I haven't done anything that thrilling since I got back from Anamosa. Um, I haven't been out riding all weekend for medical reasons, which I won't get into. Um, I did have to lay low most of the time, so, but I can't turn down a request from a dear friend. So here goes nothing, right? Inside on the stove, I have what's essentially a very rough fresco tomato sauce with some leftover grilled Italian sausages um, in there, cooking in there, getting happy. And it's, reaching the end of the gardening season. I'm looking for things to do with the odds and ends that are coming off the end of the garden. So that's what I decided to do. Sunday sauce, right? But I didn't have time to do the whole thing with, meatballs, maybe make a brioche, etc., etc. But I did have this very nice, very good Italian sausage, already cooked, already pre-cooked, I should say, that I could put in. And that's what I did. This is essentially tomatoes fresh from my yard, ground up, seeded, and ground up. What you wind up with is a watery slurry, if you will, that has to be cooked down, as opposed to, opening a can of ready-made sauce, which already has some thickness to it. This needs to be played with a little bit. Which brings me to my topic, though. And one of these days, if I live long enough, you'll read about this. Some people make these things by following a recipe. Most of my Italian dishes didn't come from a recipe. They either came from my mom or were influenced by her. She had a huge, shelf full of cookbooks that she used for ideas, but seldom actually followed, any recipes. Why? She was an intuitive cook. She learned how to cook as a small girl. Her mom died at when she was when my mom was like 4 years old. So she was raised by an aunt while her dad emigrated to the U.S. and, made a life before sending for his two daughters. Anyway, my mom learned how to cook in an Italian kitchen by observing an older person cooking in that kitchen. There were no cookbooks. Chances are it was a wood stove. I don't know. But here's the thing, conversations with my mother about how to make a particular dish frequently went like this. Ma, how do you make such and such? Well, you start out with the pot and you put some of this and some of that. You got to add a little salt, a little pepper, some oregano. Ma, ho, ho, ho. How much? And I'm about to write stuff down. Not really. I'm used to this. And her answer was usually along the lines of, well, you got to make sure you put enough because she's not going to taste of anything if you don't. But if you put too much, that's no good either. Cooking by braille, cooking by feel. That's basically how all the dishes were. Trial and error. You want to be, smart about it. You start with the ingredients and you add a little bit. and then you taste, and then you add more, etc., etc. Obviously, you can't do this if you're baking a cake. That's chemistry. That's something different. But, for example, tomato sauce, and this can be a marinara, this can be a meat sauce, this can be a typical Sunday pot with the different types of meats, cooking in it. It can be just about anything. You're going to start out, especially if you're doing it my way with fresh tomatoes, you're going to have a lot of water in there that needs to cook off. So what's going to happen is you're going to reduce, right, that sauce. As that happens, the concentration of flavors is going to be maybe more than you would expect, especially the tomato flavor. So a couple of things. One, you're going to have so much tomato flavor that you need the other things, or all you're going to taste is the tomato. But two, you're going to have less volume. So ergo, for, if you put too much of a given thing, because you're tasting and it's not right, and the whole thing is getting smaller, your ingredients are all still in there, and now it's overpowering the sauce. Salt is a real good example for this. If you want to start out by adding certain ingredients that you know are going to go in there, fine. Start easy, especially on the salt. When you get to that point where the sauce has cooked down, so you're about ready, to take it off, or to add meat or whatever it is, you've got it to that sweet spot, that point where you're going to turn the heat really, really low so that you don't cook it down too much more. Now taste it. How's the salt now? How are the herbs, how is the balance of herbs and spices now? This is the time to make your adjustment. And then let it cook a little bit more, because everybody knows this stuff has, the flavors have to meld, right? But you won't overdo it. It took me a while to learn this one. I sound like I know what I'm talking about. I promise you I didn't, 40 years ago. But it's a thing. And even, my son, who loves to cook. Son, if you're watching, I know, still has that tendency. And he even says, I'm famous for over-salting my food. Why? Probably because he's putting it in. Nope, that's not enough. Doesn't taste of anything. Put more. Now it's too much. Why? You've got less of the other stuff. It's cooking down. So, patience. There's really no such thing, as a natural in life. With the exception of geniuses and assholes, a natural leader, a natural cook, a natural driver, a natural motorcyclist, whatever it is. No. Everything comes from practice, experience, and learning from that experience. So, as it is in the kitchen, if you enjoy following recipes, do so. If you enjoy pushing the envelope and moving away from the recipe, I wonder what this would be like if I did it just a little bit different. There's only one way to find out. Try it. Maybe don't experiment when you've got 20 people coming over to eat, right? But every now and then, try things. The worst thing that could happen is it's not a good idea. Oh, I won't do that again. The other side of the coin is, though, this really worked out well. I'm going to do more of this. Experience, folks. Enjoy your Sunday. Catch you next time.